Mel sat in front of his computer, hesitant about loading the new morphing software he'd just purchased. Normally, he wouldn't overthink it, but something about the whole experience felt off. He'd bought the software at a quirky computer store in the mall, and while nothing had seemed unusual there, an uneasy feeling lingered. "You're just overthinking," he muttered to himself, standing up to pace. "Just because there's a strange shop with odd customers next door doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the software." Besides, using the new Alaric software was definitely better than spending time at the mall with Larry. Mel sometimes wondered why he was still friends with him. Sure, Larry had been there for him when Mel broke up with Cheryl, but spending time with him felt like a hassle. Larry wasn't exactly the type of friend you wanted to be seen with in public. He had a knack for being condescending around women, treating them as though they existed solely for his pleasure. As a result, most women avoided him, and increasingly, his friends too. Mel didn't want to be guilty by association. So, rather than deal with Larry, Mel opted to try out the new software. It seemed like the safer choice. He sat back down and carefully inserted the CD into his computer. As he did, a flash of lightning illuminated the sky, followed by a thunderous rumble that shook the house. The power flickered, and the computer shut down. Luckily, it was just a brief outage, lasting only a couple of seconds, but it was enough to cause a disruption. Mel was grateful for the surge protector as the computer powered back on and began rebooting. However, as the system rebooted, a strange beeping noise filled the air. On the screen, a general protection fault message appeared, and Mel's stomach sank. He had never seen this message before, and it concerned him. Despite the surge protector, something might have gone wrong inside the PC. What else could possibly happen? Just then, a strange crackling sound came from the computer's internal speakers, and he watched in disbelief as the PC rebooted again. It hadn't lost power this time, and he hadn't done anything to trigger the reboot. As Windows loaded, Mel noticed the CD drive light flashing on and off, indicating the disk was being read. That shouldn't be happening, he thought. A pop-up window appeared, beginning install of Alaric version 6.6-6, copyright Aloysius, Inc., 1998. To his surprise, the installation continued automatically, with new windows popping up and disappearing without him having to interact. This was odd. Then, the installation completed and another window appeared, Alaric install complete, click on Alaric icon. But again, he didn't need to click anything. Before he could even finish reading the message, the screen was overtaken by another window labeled Start Image. The program paused there. Wondering what was happening, Mel decided to take control. He pulled down the File menu and selected Load Image. A new window appeared showing a list of binary image files. Mel was surprised by how many file formats the software supported. It seemed to accept just about every type of image. He quickly scrolled down and selected a file that he knew contained a picture of himself. The image loaded into the Start Image window. Then a message popped up, Enter Identification. The cursor blinked inside the rectangular box. Assuming he needed to type a name, Mel typed Mel and pressed Enter. The new window appeared, Insufficient Identification. Please re-enter. Mel clicked OK and typed Mel Whitaker into the box, then hit Enter. Incomplete identification. Please re-enter, the window read again. Frowning, he clicked OK once more and typed Melville Whitaker, then pressed Enter again. Identification accepted, flashed across the screen for a moment. His name, Melville Whitaker, now appeared on the title bar, replacing the Start Image heading. A new window appeared on the right side of the screen, labeled End Image. He opened the File menu again and selected Load Image. The list of available binary images reappeared. He chose the file he wanted, and it quickly loaded into the End Image window. Identify, read the new window. The cursor blinked inside the box. Mel typed Melanie Whitaker and hit Enter. Accepted, flashed on the screen, and Melanie Whitaker replaced the End Image label on the title bar. Melville and Melanie had the same eye color, and their hair color matched too, though Melanie's was shoulder length. They seemed to be about the same age. These similarities had led him to choose Melanie's picture for his first morph. He didn't know her real name, nor did it matter. Fortunately, the program didn't seem as picky with the final image's identification as it had been with the initial one. Mel had been fascinated by the morphing effects in Michael Jackson's Black or White video and wanted to create something similar, morphing people from one gender to another, transforming races, and changing hair colors. He figured that, in time, he would try every possible combination, but for now, Melville morphing into Melanie would be his first transformation. Another window appeared, identify key points and key lines or auto-generate. He selected auto-generate. As he watched, key points appeared on both images. The program connected these points with key lines. With more experience, he would place the key points and lines manually in future morphs. Next, he clicked on the sequence menu and selected Save Movie. After several minutes, a window appeared, announcing AVI complete. He clicked OK, and the window was replaced with another, View Movie? Once again, he clicked OK. Mel watched, captivated, as the screen first went blank, then revealed the full-screen image of himself that had served as the start image. To his astonishment, the image gradually morphed from Melville into Melanie, seamlessly shifting from a male form to a female one. The transformation was mesmerizing. It looked surprisingly realistic, or at least as realistic as a fictional transformation could appear. Mel found himself wondering what it would feel like to undergo such a change, but those kinds of experiences only happened in the stories he read, stories written by authors with more imagination than he could ever hope to possess. As he brushed his hair away from his face, he noticed it had grown quite long. When had that happened? It was clear he needed a haircut. The sound of the front door opening snapped him out of his thoughts. A few minutes later, his father, who had been working long hours, came home. He entered the room casually, saying, "Hi, sweetheart." "Hi, Dad," Mel replied, feeling a bit confused by his father's greeting. Maybe he was just exhausted from work, he thought. That had to be why he called him sweetheart. "I didn't expect to find you here tonight," his father said. "I thought you and Larry had plans." Mel wondered what his dad was talking about. Larry was his best friend, but they had only discussed hanging out at the mall, checking out the girls. His dad shouldn't have known about that. "Not tonight, Dad," Mel answered. "We'd thought about going to the mall, but you know how Larry is. Besides, I bought this new morphing program and decided to load it tonight instead." "Why didn't you wait for me to get home?" his father asked. "I know I've been working long hours lately, but you should have asked me to help. You shouldn't be handling things like that on your own." "Did you run into any problems?" "No, of course not. Everything's fine," Mel replied, trying to shake off the strange feeling. He couldn't understand why his father, who had no clue about computers, so much so that he couldn't even tell the difference between a mouse and a floppy disk, was acting so odd tonight. But ever since the accident, his father's odd behavior had become almost normal. "Everything went perfectly, Dad." "That's great," his father said with a smile. "I always knew deep down that my little girl had it in her to fix her own PC and install her own software." He walked over to Mel, kissed him on the forehead, and added, "I'll see you in the morning, sweetheart." Mel stood frozen, unable to respond, watching as his father walked away towards his bedroom. "Girl?" Mel muttered to himself, utterly confused. What the heck has Dad been smoking? His guilt must be getting to him again. And what did he mean by my little girl? Normally, Mel would leave his father alone when he was in one of his moods, but tonight felt different, something was off. Deciding he needed to talk to his father, Mel stood up, but he wobbled slightly in the short heels he found himself wearing. "What the hell?" he muttered, perplexed. Looking down, he realized he was wearing shoes with half-inch heels and a very short skirt. His legs, smooth and hairless like Cheryl's, only added to the strangeness. When he stood upright again, he felt his hair cascade over his shoulders and rest against his chest. Chest? His mind screamed in disbelief. Where the hell did these come from? He whispered aloud, slowly lifting his hand, a delicate, feminine hand with long nails, toward one of his breasts. Cautiously, he touched it, stunned to find that they were real. Not just real, they were his. Still in shock, he staggered toward his room, oblivious to the fact that his steps now resembled those of the girl he appeared to be. By the time he reached his room, no one would mistake her movements for those of a boy. Panicked, Mel switched on the overhead light. His eyes widened as he took in the transformation. But it wasn't his room anymore. It was clearly a girl's room, yet he had no sisters. What the hell is going on? He muttered, trying to make sense of it. When did Dad have the time to do this? And why? His gaze landed on a mirror on the dresser, one he had never seen before. He couldn't look away from the girl reflected in it. He raised his hand, and the reflection mirrored him perfectly. He stuck his tongue out at her, and she did the same in return. That confirmed it. There was no doubt, somehow, he had turned into a girl. His father had transformed him from his son into his daughter. But why? How? Then Mel noticed a purse on the dresser. Opening it, he found the identification he expected. Her driver's license. He stared at the picture on the license. It was the same girl staring back at him in the mirror. "It's me," he whispered, though the face seemed so familiar. He read the name on the license. Melanie Whitaker. A realization hit him. "Melanie?" Mel said softly, disbelief creeping into his voice. "Wait a minute." He ran back to his PC and stared at the image now on the screen, the same one he had morphed earlier. It was her, or was it? Maybe it was him now? But how had this happened? "I morphed the picture of me into Melanie, and as a result, became Melanie to my dad," he marveled. "It must have been this program that changed me into a girl. I definitely don't want to stay this way. But I have to wonder, how far has the effect of my transformation spread? It definitely affected Dad. He treated me like I've always been Melanie, but I wonder if it's affected anyone else." Mel sat down at her computer and repeated the same process, but this time using a picture of her father as the start image and a photo of her recently deceased mother as the end image. She watched, captivated, as her father, Samuel Whitaker, swiftly morphed into her mother, Helen Whitaker. If the same thing happened to him, Mel hoped her father wouldn't mind waking up to find himself in her mother's form. She had never gotten the chance to say goodbye to her mother or tell her she loved her before the accident. And her father, who blamed himself for the tragedy, had buried himself in work and acted strangely ever since. It probably didn't help that Aunt Selena, his mother's sister, kept sending constant reminders of the past. Selena had never approved of her sister's marriage, not because of Sam Whitaker, but because she simply didn't like men. No man could ever be good enough for her sister. Melville had always assumed that Aunt Selena only tolerated him because he was her sister's only child. But deep down, Melanie wondered if other changes were possible as well. She approached her father's room quietly, carefully opening the door to peek inside. Though she'd expected it, it was still shocking to see her mother sleeping there alone. Gently, she closed the door, her father's room, or at least, for now, her mother's. "This is incredible," she muttered to herself as she walked back to her computer. "But I should probably change his back before Dad wakes up and I have to explain what he's doing in Mom's body." Before she could sit down, the doorbell rang. Who could that be at this hour, she wondered. She went to the door and peeked through the peephole, ensuring it was safe to open. "Hey, Mel," Larry said as he walked in. "Larry?" Melanie responded, puzzled. "Who else would it be, babe?" he replied, slipping his arm around her waist. "You weren't expecting someone else, now were you, Melanie?" "Of course not, Larry." "You know, babe, you're looking really hot tonight," Larry remarked. "Did you forget that we were supposed to hit the mall tonight?" Melanie looked at him, confused. "I thought we were going tomorrow," she said. "I told you I wanted to load that new morphing software tonight." Larry blinked in surprise. Since when did you become a computer geek, babe? I'm not a computer geek, she replied. Whatever you say, babe, Larry smiled, his arm tightening around her waist. He pulled her closer and kissed her. At first, Melanie wanted to resist, but as her body responded despite her mind's objections, she found herself giving in to his advances. Now that's more like it, Larry said. You know, it's not too late. Why don't you get ready, and we'll catch a movie at the mall? He smiled at her, giving her a cheeky wink. I know you'll love it, but you better hurry up, babe, you wouldn't want me to leave you behind. What a jerk, she thought. If this was how he treated girls, no wonder they avoided him. She stared at him in disgust. Come on, babe. We don't have all night, Larry said, trying to rush her. If I were a girl, I wouldn't be keeping me waiting so long. That was it. Melanie stormed off to the den, fury burning inside her. She sat down in front of her computer and opened the morphing software again. Pulling down the file menu, she clicked on New Morph. The Start Image window appeared. She selected Load Image from the menu. The list of binary image files popped up again. After scrolling through, she found the image of Larry she wanted and selected it. It quickly loaded into the Start Image window. Enter identification, the prompt read. Without hesitation, she typed Lawrence Mitchell into the box and hit Enter. Identification accepted flashed on the screen briefly. The title bar changed to read Lawrence Mitchell. The End Image window appeared next. She selected Load Image again. The image window popped up once more. This time, she chose an image she had recently downloaded from a newsgroup, a picture she knew Larry would find irresistible. The image quickly loaded into the End Image window. Identify, the prompt read. The cursor blinked in the box. Melanie typed Kate Mitchell and hit Enter. Accepted flashed briefly. The title bar updated to read Kate Mitchell. Melanie studied the two images on the screen. Larry's hair was dark and short, while Kate's golden locks were long and full of life. Larry had brown eyes, but Kate's were a striking green. Melanie couldn't help but smile as she imagined how much Larry would enjoy being transformed into this blonde, stunning beauty. The Key Points and Lines window appeared. Like before, she clicked the Auto-Generate button and watched as the program placed key points on each image and connected them with key lines. She then opened the Sequence menu and clicked on Save Movie. Just like before, a window popped up to announce AVI complete. Clicking OK, the window was replaced by another one that read, View Movie? Melanie stood up and walked toward the living room door. Oh, Larry, dear, she called sweetly. Could you come here for a minute? Larry entered the room, completely unaware of anything strange happening. He misinterpreted Melanie's smile. I knew you couldn't stay mad at me for long, babe, he said smugly. Without waiting for more, he moved behind her and began to nuzzle her neck. Fighting the urges that surged within her new form, she turned to face him and gently said, Not right now, sweetheart. First, there's something I really want you to see. As long as it doesn't take too long, babe. Melanie walked over to the computer. Don't worry, babe, she said with a smile. It won't take long at all. She clicked OK. As Mel silently watched, the screen of her PC went blank, and then it displayed the full-screen image of Larry she had used as the start image. She kept glancing between the transforming image on the screen and the person standing in front of her. With complete amazement, she watched as the image of Lawrence gradually shifted into Kate, the female version of Larry. Even more incredible was the actual physical transformation of Larry into Kate. As the transformation completed, the now buxom Kate tossed her long, silky blonde hair out of her face and complained, Aren't we going to the mall, Melanie? I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden I feel really hot and, well, excited. I've got to find a guy real soon, or I think I'm going to explode. Shocked, Mel thought to herself, this isn't going to be fun at all. Not only did Kate think she was a girl, but it was clear she didn't remember ever being Larry. But why do I still remember Larry? Mel wondered. Well, Kate whined again. Are we going or not, Melanie? Melanie, unsure of why she was doing this, replied, sure, why not? Then, as she began to question her own words, she added, just let me tell my dad we're going, and I'll be right back. Kate looked at her, confused. I thought your dad passed in that traffic accident a couple of months ago. Melanie froze, surprised. Did I say my dad? Must have been some kind of Freudian slip, she said quickly. I meant to say my mom. Anyway, Mom was asleep the last time I checked on her. She didn't consider that if Kate thought she was Kate, her mother might think she was her own mother when she woke. Why don't we just go to the mall? I'm sure Mom won't mind. After Melanie and Kate arrived at the mall, they strolled from one store to the next, casually browsing the windows. While Kate spent most of her time chatting excitedly about the new clothes they passed, she also couldn't help but talk about boys. She ogled nearly every guy that walked by, even those with girlfriends. Like Larry, Kate wasn't making any female friends, and Melanie couldn't help but feel relieved that their glares weren't capable of causing harm. But, oddly, as time went on, Melanie, perhaps influenced by Kate, found herself starting to notice the boys around them too. As she appraised them, she couldn't help but question why she was even looking in the first place. Was being a girl subtly shifting her perspective? While standing outside one of the clothing stores, two boys from school approached. Melanie and Kate immediately recognized them, Chuck Watson and Kevin Grant, two of the top defensemen on the school's championship ice hockey team. They had just been named to the all-conference all-star team. More importantly, at least to Kate, neither of them was with a girl. Realizing this, she saw an opportunity, batting her eyelashes at them, giving them all the encouragement they needed to stop. Hi, Kate, Kevin said, completely ignoring Melanie. Hi, Kevin, Kate replied, her voice sweet. Want to join Chuck and me for a movie? Kevin asked. I'd love to, Kevin, she answered. Can Mel come too? When did you get here, Melanie? Chuck asked, looking at her shyly. She's been here the whole time, silly, Kate replied, grinning. It'll be just like we're on real dates, Melanie and Chuck, and me and Kevin. She gave Kevin a possessive look. Both boys smiled. Chuck gently took Melanie's hand, while Kevin, clearly more focused on Kate, slipped his arm around her inviting waist. They didn't have to wait in line at the movie theater. The film they chose was a lackluster grade B horror flick, but Chuck and Kevin, who had already seen it a couple of times, weren't really interested in the movie itself. They had other things on their minds. What the movie did have going for it, from their perspective, was the ample blood, guts, and gore elements that typically made squeamish girls cling to their dates. Both Chuck and Kevin were eager for Melanie and Kate to see them as their knights in shining armor once the blood started to flow. It didn't take long for Kate to live up, or perhaps down, to their expectations. She gripped Kevin so tightly that those nearby in the theater might have wondered how he was still breathing. Before long, Kevin and Kate were completely absorbed in each other, engaging in activities far beyond heavy petting. Melanie, however, was hesitant to become that involved with Chuck. He seemed like a nice guy, but he was persistently trying to get closer to her. By the time the movie was halfway over, she had only just allowed him to put his arm around her shoulders. Even that felt uncomfortable, especially since she still identified as a boy. She also worried about being seen out with another guy by some of his friends. Chuck might have been disappointed by Melanie's reluctance, but he remembered a piece of advice his grandmother had given him: good things come to those who wait. So Chuck waited patiently. He truly saw something good in Melanie. Eventually, his patience was rewarded. Neither Melanie nor Kate could remember how the movie had ended, or when it had ended. By the time the film finished, both girls were completely caught up with the boys they were with. For Kate, it was no problem, she was enjoying all the attention Kevin was giving her. But as the house lights came on, Melanie began to question what had come over her to make her do the things she had been doing with Chuck. Still, she had to admit, she had fun with him. Afterwards, the four of them wandered aimlessly around the mall. It became clear to Melanie that Kevin and Kate were looking for somewhere private. When she looked up at Chuck, she had a sudden realization he was probably thinking along the same lines for them. Being alone with a boy was something she couldn't allow herself. There had to be a way out of this situation, she thought. Then, an idea struck her, but she wasn't sure if the others would go along with it. "I've just thought of something fun," she said. "I just loaded this amazing new morphing program onto my PC. With my digital camera, I can take pictures of you guys and morph you into someone completely different while you watch." "But Mel," Kate whined, "your mom's at your place. Remember?" "It's okay," Mel replied. "She's probably still asleep." She really hoped they would all agree. She looked at Chuck with wide, soulful eyes. "So, what do you think, Chuck?" Just like Kate had done with Kevin, she batted her eyelashes at him. The power she felt over Chuck amazed her, and she savored every moment of it. "Maybe afterwards, we can do something else," she teased. Chuck glanced at Kevin. Kevin returned the look. Both of them smiled, clearly imagining what they each thought was the promise something else. "Sure. Why not?" they both replied in unison, while Kate frowned, growing frustrated. "It sounds like it could be fun," Chuck said. "It might just be fun," Melanie thought. Melanie positioned Kevin and Chuck for their pictures, while Kate alternated between whining and pouting. She was becoming increasingly annoying, far more than Larry had ever been. To keep her quiet, Melanie had promised to take individual photos of everyone before they left. The thought of having a picture of her Kevin made her happy, though Melanie couldn't help but wonder how long that feeling would last. After snapping the boy's photo with her digital camera, Melanie transferred the image to her PC, where it was ready to be processed by Alaric. As Kevin, Chuck, and Kate peered over her shoulder, Melanie pulled down the file menu and clicked on New Morph. After the Start Image half-screen window appeared, she selected Load Image from the menu. The binary images list popped up. She scrolled down to the image she just uploaded and clicked on it. It loaded instantly into the Start Image window. Enter identification. Multiple subjects require multiple valid identifications, the pop-up window instructed. Impressive program, Melanie thought. In the text box, she quickly typed Kevin Grant and Charles Watson, then hit Enter. Identifications accepted flashed briefly. The title bar on the Start Image window now read Kevin Grant/Charles Watson. The End Image window loaded on the right half of the screen. Again, Melanie opened the File menu and selected Load Image. The list of binary images popped up again. She had already chosen her next image. "How about a little fun?" she said, grinning at her companions. She clicked on the file name, and it loaded into the End Image window. "What?" both boys said in unison as they stared at the image of two stunning, busty blonde twins in tiny bikinis. "You can't change them into girls," Kate said indignantly. "And why not?" Melanie replied innocently. "It's not like I'm changing them in real life. After all, this is just make-believe, Kate." She smiled mischievously. "Of course, if you'd prefer, after I take that picture of you later, I could morph you into a big, strong, handsome guy." Kate visibly paled. "Oh, no. I wouldn't like that at all." Turning to the boys, Melanie asked sweetly, "How about you guys? Do you want me to continue? Or are my big, strong, manly studs afraid that little old me might rob them of their masculinity by changing this picture of you into that one with beautiful girls?" "Stop it," Kate said anxiously. "I don't like this." "Come on, Kate. It can't hurt us," Kevin said, wrapping his arm around her. "It's just harmless fun. It might even be a kick to watch." "Go ahead, Mel." "Yeah, Mel," Chuck added, "go ahead." "Okay," Melanie said with a grin. "The transformation is a go." The Identify pop-up window waited for input. In the text box where the cursor blinked, Melanie typed Mona and Tana Whitfield and pressed Enter. "Accepted" flashed on the screen. Mona/Tana Whitfield appeared in the title bar, replacing end image. Please stop, Kate whined again. Something feels off. I can feel it. Oh, chill out, Kate, Kevin said as he pulled her closer. It's just a game. He looked at Chuck and smiled. Wouldn't you agree, Tana? I certainly would, Mona, Chuck laughed. Say, Mel, where did the name Whitfield come from? It's the name of my next-door neighbors, Fred and Karen Whitfield, Melanie replied. They always wanted kids but never could. From what I've heard from my mom, Karen almost passed after her dad took her to a back-alley abortionist when she got pregnant after being essayed by a couple of guys while she was in college. The police never caught the rapists, and the abortionist disappeared. It happened over 20 years ago, according to my mom. You know, now that I think about it, it seems kind of cruel to use their names for this. Come on, Mel, Kevin said, shaking his head. You're getting as bad as Kate. You said it yourself, it's just a game. Kate pulled away and sulked in the corner. It can't be cruel if they don't know what's going on. I suppose you're right, Melanie said. Should I continue? By all means, both Kevin and Chuck replied. When the key points and lines window appeared, Melanie clicked the auto-generate button again. As they watched, the program selected matching key points on each image and connected those points with key lines according to its algorithm. Melanie clicked on the sequence menu one last time and selected Save Movie. A few minutes later, a window popped up announcing AVI complete. She clicked OK, and the next window appeared, View Movie? One last chance to save your manhood, fellas, Melanie teased, smiling at Kevin and Chuck. Do I continue, or do I stop? Kate didn't respond. Kevin reached over, took the mouse from Melanie's hand, and clicked on OK. Melanie smiled. As the screen blanked out once more, Melanie's PC loaded the full-screen image of Kevin and Chuck. Then, the image began to transform. As the image changed, so did the two boys in front of her. Fascinating, thought Melanie, watching intently. She barely noticed the movie on the screen anymore. Her focus was entirely on Kevin and Chuck as they lost inches in height and shed several pounds, their muscular frames changing into the voluptuous, bikini-clad female forms she had selected for them. The sight of their transformation excited her. When their changes finished, Kate joined the newly transformed twins. Those suits are really hot, she said, admiring the girls' outfits. I wish I'd bought one just like them. I guess buying them made the mall trip worthwhile, but I can't believe none of us picked up a guy tonight. You're right about that, Kate, Mona said, admiring herself in the mirror. For sure, Tana agreed. Now it's time to change me back into me, Melanie thought, hearing the girlish giggles from her companions. She figured she could have some fun with them before reversing the changes. But first, she needed to return to her true self. She opened the file menu again and clicked Reload Previous Morph. Nothing happened. Panicking, she quickly tried New Morph. A window popped up, but Melanie cringed as she read the error message, Morphus.exe has caused general protection fault F6F6F600. What now? She wondered. Looking up from the screen, she was shocked to see Kate, Mona, and Tana staring at her with accusatory expressions. What happened? She asked, but they didn't answer. In fact, they didn't move at all. They appeared frozen in place. Then, her PC powered down on its own. What have I done? Melanie muttered to herself. You've done what you were meant to do, Melanie, a strange male voice said from across the room. A short man stepped out of the shadows, almost as if he had materialized out of nowhere. Who are you? Melanie asked, fear creeping into her voice. I am many things to many people, the man said with a smile. But right now, Melanie, I am your friend. You may call me Alaric, Aloysius Alaric. Or just Al, or A, whichever makes you most comfortable. Have you enjoyed the use of my software? Your software? Melanie said in surprise. Yes, Alaric, version 6.6.6, of course. Melanie stared at the man, still in disbelief. That's your software? Do you have any idea just how remarkable it is? Do you know what it's capable of? To both questions, Alaric replied, I must answer yes. It functions in the remarkable way it was designed to. Then why did my copy crash? Melanie asked, frustrated. It was working fine just a few minutes ago, and then suddenly, it crashed. There's nothing wrong with your copy, Alaric said, smiling. With Alaric version 6.6.6, you are allocated only 5 physical transformations that affect your reality. After using all 5, you attempted a 6th. It's all explained in the user's manual. But I need one more, Melanie said desperately. That is not possible, Melanie, Alaric replied. To affect reality, I had to bargain with the eternal guardians of reality. They only allowed 5 transformations per copy in the bargain I struck. It's this agreement that lets me create and market this software you find so remarkable. Software is a new venture for me, he continued. I'm hoping it will help me lighten the considerable backlog of cases that require my personal intervention, providing retribution for those who seek it. Retribution? Melanie echoed. Yes, for a price, Alaric explained. Anyone who feels they have been unjustly wronged can seek me out. If I agree with them, I provide retribution as they desire. For a much higher price, which few are willing to pay, I don't need to agree with them, I only do as they require. In both cases, others may be altered as a result of the retribution. Was this all about retribution? Was it that asshole Larry Mitchell? Melanie asked. Alaric smiled but didn't answer directly. Perhaps. Perhaps not. In any case, I may choose not to say, Alaric replied. All of my work is covered by client confidentiality. You will never know which of the 5 transformations was the target of my client's retribution. Nor will you ever know the identity of my client. I have already been compensated for my services, and that is all that concerns me. Are you saying that any of the people I transformed could have been the target of your retribution? Melanie asked. I can neither confirm nor deny that, Alaric responded. In truth, any, all, or none of those you transformed may have been subject to my retribution. However, I will reveal to you now, without fear of compromising my client or clients, that all 5 of the individuals you transformed had complaints filed against them. Not all, however, merited a response from me. But I never did anything to deserve this, Melanie said. Didn't you? Alaric asked. What about Cheryl? What about her? Melanie replied. I loved her, but then she told me the baby wasn't mine. How could I trust her after that? You should have tried, Alaric said. It was a poor test, to be sure, but all the same, you failed. The baby was yours, and had been yours all along, just as it will always be. But she wouldn't have done that to us, Mel protested. When I'm back to being myself, I'll talk things through with her. You'll see. Now, Alaric, how do I get back to being me? I don't want to stay Melanie forever. I want to be me again. You needn't worry, Mel. When the morning comes, you will be yourself again, Alaric assured her. I have already handled that for you. The eternal guardians have been exceptionally amiable with my requests. All you need to do now is wake up tomorrow morning. But what about the others? Mel yawned, feeling a wave of tiredness. What once was, is no longer important, Alaric said. I will share things with you now that tomorrow you will know to have always been true. Karen Murphy, now Karen Whitfield, was never taken advantage of. She never needed to visit that back alley abortionist, and as a result, she and Fred became parents to twin girls. If they knew, I'm sure they would thank you for Mona and Tana. All those involved in that case have faced my retribution. Sometimes the sins of the father must be passed down to the sons. And where guilt, where none was needed, existed, it is no longer. Mel yawned widely, suddenly feeling incredibly sleepy. Perhaps I've said too much, Alaric remarked with a smile. I did not mean to bore you. It's time you got some rest, Mel. You look awfully tired to me. He waved his hand over Kate, Mona, and Tana's still forms, and one by one, they disappeared with a barely audible pop, the air rushing in to fill the empty space. As he walked toward the shadows, Alaric turned and said, "Good night, Melanie. Sleep well." Melanie yawned again, making her way to her bedroom. Another yawn. Before long, she was in bed, fast asleep. As the sun rose, its early rays poured into the room through the bare windows, their warmth rousing Mel from her sleep. Recalling Alaric words from the night before, Mel quickly scanned the room. Everything seemed completely normal again, exactly as it should be. The worry that had plagued her about Alaric's ability to restore things to normal faded, replaced by a deep sigh of relief. Alaric had kept his word. Though everything seemed fine, there was still one final test. Nervously, Mel threw off the covers, slid out of bed, and walked slowly toward the mirror on the dresser. She gazed into the mirror, smiling as her reflection smiled back. I'm me again. Not someone else, but truly me, Mel said, then began to laugh. Alaric really did come through after all. There was a knock on the door. Yes? Mel replied happily. Are you all right? Her mother asked, entering the room with a concerned look. I've been a little worried about you lately. I'm just fine, Mom, Mel reassured her. You really don't have to worry. I had this strange dream last night. In it, Kate, Mona, Tana, and I were all completely different people, not ourselves at all. But then, we were all saved by this little guy named. Geez, it's funny, I can't seem to remember his name. It'll probably come back to me later. Anyway, he told me everything would be back to normal in the morning, and it is. So, there's really nothing to worry about. But I'm your mother, dear, her mom replied with a soft smile. It's part of a mother's job to worry about her only daughter, especially when she's about to become a mother herself. I know, Mom, Melanie answered with a reassuring grin. But honestly, everything's perfectly normal. Wouldn't I be the first to notice if something was wrong? If you appreciated this story and wish to show your support, don't forget to join me on Patreon for exclusive content.